Awesome! So you guys understand the insane power of really getting out there, being in front of people, and listening to them, because that changes absolutely everything. Now what I want to do is I want to kind of talk to you a little bit more about applying this not just in a business sense, but also in the home, which is like ridiculously cool, so it can impact both the professional life but also your personal life, and really change those intimate relationships that are super important in all aspects of your life, which is super cool. So let's go over to the computer, let's make it happen. Alright, cool. So there's this woman, and she's name is Millie Episota. She's living on the Hudson in New York, and she made it her business to listen carefully when one of her kids wanted to speak with her. Every single time, like if they wanted to speak, she would look them right in the eyes, and she'd freaking care. And one evening, when she was sitting in the kitchen with her son after a brief discussion of something that was on his mind, Robert said, "Mom, I know you love me very much." And she says, "You know, of course I love you very much. Did you doubt it?" The kid says, "No, but I really know you love me because whenever I want to talk to you about something, you stop whatever you're doing and listen to me attentively." Right? She puts all of her focus, all of her energy, all of her enthusiasm, everything she has into this kid because he thinks that she cares about him. So she's got all of her attention focused on him because she cares, right? She's focusing attentively on this kid. And the coolest thing is that frequently you can like soften or subdue in the presence of a patient like a sympathetic listener. He's a listener who will be silent when the irate fault finder dilates like a king cobra and spews out poison of a system, will stand out so much. And this statement, like literally I read this in it, I was like, dude, whoa, this is insane, are you kidding? And so I want to kind of elaborate on it because I think it's crazy, and I think it's also a little bit tough to understand at the beginning. See, most people, what they do is they stand there and they criticize, and they criticize, and they criticize, and they throw all their emotion, throw all their energy, to try to interrupt what people are saying. They try to like overpower them, right? And they try to pretend that like they're the coolest, and they try to up their ego, and they try to make themselves feel better in the short term, while in the long term they destroy that relationship, when what this lady did was so much more powerful. Instead of that, what she did was she sacrificed her productivity, she sacrificed her work, she sacrificed what she was doing, so that in the long term she could have a much better relationship with her kids, which is like insane and so cool. And so as this kid shows his appreciation for her, what he's really focusing on is how like she's literally the coolest person on the planet, because she's different than everybody else. Because most people are focusing on negativity, and they're criticizing people instead of listening attentively and just accepting others for who they really are. And I want to read this sentence again because literally I think it's insane. Dale writes that even the most violent critic will frequently be softened and subdued in the presence of a patient, sympathetic listener. A listener who will be silent when the irate fault finder dilates like a king cobra and spews poison out of his system. So, like, how can you fight? If you have somebody that's literally so upset and super pissed off, and they're really having a bad day, and they're just sitting there like spewing out all this crap at you, and you just sit there and you listen attentively, and you take whatever they're saying and you just freaking listen. Like, so often people, they don't really want change, they don't really want a difference in their lives, they don't really actually want something to happen immediately. All most people really want in the moment is somebody to freaking attentively listen to them. They just want to be listened to. And as soon as they're listened to, like, they'll feel much better, even if it's a negative situation, even if they're complaining about something. Really, what most people want is a feeling of significance. And that feeling of significance comes from being listened to attentively. So if you just contribute just a little bit of your time, so like maybe 20% more of your time than if you were just to ignore them or walk away, and you just give them a little bit extra time to listen attentively to them, not only are you going to radically strengthen this relationship bond between the two of you and that other person, but kind of more importantly is you're going to add so much value into their life, and you're going to make them feel so much better. You're going to put them up on this ginormous pedestal, and it will make them feel so much better than anything else you could have ever done or ever said to them, just to elevate their position and elevate where they are and make them feel like they are important. That's just such an amazing thing to be able to give to somebody, and it absolutely changes everything. It's so nice, so powerful, and so huge. And it all comes from your ability to just freaking listen to people in any aspect of your life, because it changes absolutely everything, and it's so cool. They had to deal with one of the most vicious clients they had ever seen. It was crazy. And he went to this guy who never cursed a client services representative. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. And he did curse, he raved, he threatened to tear the phone out of its roots. and he refused to pay certain charges on his bill, and he was not about to pay this stuff. He declared were false, and he wrote letters to the newspapers, and he filed an innumerable amount of complaints with the Public Service Commission, and he started several suits against the telephone company, and was saying that they were basically like the worst people on the planet, which is just insane, right? He just didn't want to pay his bill. And at last, one of the company's most successful troubleshooters was sent to interview this stormy man. So this troubleshooter comes to this guy's house, right? And he just comes, he sits down, and I don't know how they afford to have this client service, but it's really, really, really good. And he just sits down in this guy's house, and this guy pours out all of his negative emotions and everything he has at this one guy. This poor man. He just pours out everything, his tirade, everything. And this guy literally just sits there for hours and hours and hours and says yes! And he sympathizes with his grievances. And he raves on and on and on and listens for nearly 3 hours until this guy is like done screaming at him, which is insane. It was one of his like most intense experiences ever. And after these 3 hours and this guy gets done, he leaves, and then he comes back again. He listens some more and more and more, and he interviews him 4 times. And before the 4th visit was over, he had become a charter member of an organization that this guy was starting. He called it the Telephone Subscribers Protective Association. And he is still the only member of the Telephone Subscribers Protective Association, but by the time he kept visiting him over and over and over again, this guy actually started to bond with him. And even though he was literally just there to sort of like, you know, basically have this guy pay his bill, and this guy knew that basically he just wanted him to pay his bill, he was there, and also to get him to stop being really annoying, get him to shut up. He did something that was insane. This guy listened, and he sympathized with this person. And every single point that he made during these interviews, and he never criticized, he never argued, he never challenged, because he never had a reason to. And this guy, he literally never had anybody ever talk to him like this before, anybody ever listen to him, anybody ever agree with him like this before. Why? Because he was literally the only person on the planet who would actually listen to him. This man, he had never, ever, ever in his life heard a telephone representative talk to him the way that this guy did. No one ever listened to him. Nobody ever became almost friendly with him, to the point in which he went to see him was like never mentioned on the first visit. Like he never even talked about coming to see this guy to pay his bills. He never even mentioned that. All he did was listen and listen and listen and listen and become friendly. And it wasn't mentioned on the 2nd visit or the 3rd visit. But on the 4th interview, he closed the case completely. And this man paid all of his bills in full that he said earlier were total lies. He paid everything in full, closed the case, and for the first time in the history of the difficulties with this client, he voluntarily withdrew his complaints from the Public Service Commission. And he got everything that he wanted, because he gave this man a feeling of importance and a feeling of significance by simply listening to him, which was so huge. This guy, like, absolutely insane. Literally a holy crusader. This guy, he felt like he was the representative of everybody for the phone company. And from this point forward, his whole perspective changed, right? So now, instead of being like the super big hater of this phone company, he was now defending the public rights against call-out exploitation, or call-out exploitations. And in reality, now that he had this feeling of importance by kicking and complaining, he got that feeling of importance from having a representative come to him. He now, his imagined grievances, they vanished into thin air, and he became a happy client for years and years and years and years. He came to really form this organization and go out into the town and really like basically become a huge raving fan for this company, because they gave him a feeling of importance and a feeling of significance by assigning him somebody that literally put all of his effort, his energy, his emotions into caring about this person, their life, and whatever it is they were doing. It totally changed his whole perspective on how these guys actually operated, actually functioned, and actually cared about who he was, which is just so key. And you can see this like in so many aspects of client services. It's just huge. Another really powerful example comes from this morning, where there was an angry customer, angry client. Client storms in to the office of Julian Detmer, who was the founder of Detmer Woolen Company, which later became like the world's largest distributors of woolens, blah blah blah. Okay, and this man, as he comes into this office, he owed the company, a small sum of money, but the client denied that he owed all of this money, and he was like, "Nah, I don't owe any of this." But you're lying, right? You're wrong. And so the credit department at this company, they insisted that the client actually, pay his freaking bills, right? They sent him a ton of letters from the credit department, and it made this guy pack his grip, make an entire trip to Chicago. He leaves his home to come, he leaves his plant, he leaves his business, to come to Chicago and speak with this leader and say he does not owe any money. He rushes into his office to inform him he will not only not pay the bill, but he's never gonna buy another dollar's worth of goods from the company again. And so this guy obviously has a very similar situation on his hand as that telephone company guy, right? And so what's he do? He listens patiently. Just sits there and listens to this guy who had literally made a huge trip just to come here, because that's how important it was that he get listened to, and that he has somehow able to find a feeling of importance and significance, which is huge, right? So he keeps listening, lets him talk himself out. That's such a huge key. Like, especially if you're in an argument, you want to let the other person talk themselves out, because people will talk themselves out and they'll feel so much better at the end, because first of all, they'll have nothing else to yell at you about, but then kind of more importantly is they will feel like you have actually listened to them and you actually care about them, and that you put up all this value to listen to everything they had to say. And so now they'll be much more apt to actually listen to your rebuke and to move on and to really do, because in the reality he knows that all he wants him to do is pay money. And so if he just lets him talk himself out and listens to him, he'll be much more likely to actually cover his bill, right? And so he just listens and listens. And he was very tempted to interrupt. So often we're tempted to interrupt, but it's just not the right policy. It's a terrible policy. So all you have to do is sit there and listen and let the other person talk themselves out, and do not interrupt anyone for any reason, because it will crush their feeling of significance and their feeling of importance, right? You want to let the other person feel like they are in control, like they're on this pedestal, on this tower of good being. And you do that by listening and never interrupting, right? Only focusing on what they want, what they do. And once you do that, like, it's just huge, right? Because it makes them feel significant, it makes them feel important. And while it might not make you feel the best, what it's gonna do is it's gonna give you the best result and the best outcome possible by actually creating the best environment for growth and significance and development over time, as people care more and more about you, which is so key. And it's just awesome, right? And it's all comes for your ability. So he finally simmers down and he gets into a receptive mood. This guy says quietly, "I want to thank you for coming to Chicago to tell me about this. You have done me a great favor, for if our credit department has annoyed you, it may annoy other good clients, and that would be just too bad. Believe me, I am far more eager to hear this than you are to tell." He sits there and he says, "Thank you for coming to yell at me. Thank you for telling me how bad we are. Thank you for letting us know that we're pissing you off. And thank you for coming here and screaming at me for hours and letting me listen to you," for their criticism. He thanks them for their statement. Imagine how powerful that is. Imagine how huge that is. When's the last time somebody sat down, yelled at you for hours on end, and you got up, shook their hand, and said thank you? Because giving thanks will absolutely change everything, and it's huge. And that's exactly what this guy does, and he makes the right decision. He just crushes it, right? Because if you're saying thank you to somebody, if you're giving gratitude to somebody, and if you're saying, you're really awesome, I care about you, I appreciate you, and I thank you for the work that you have done, how do you think that's gonna feel? How do you think this guy is gonna feel after he hears the word, thank you come out of his mouth over and over again? He's gonna say thank you so much for doing all of this stuff. Do you think he's gonna be pissed? Or do you think he's gonna feel happier? The answer is he's going to clearly feel better. People want to be thanked. Gratitude incites reciprocity. Gratitude makes people feel better. Gratitude is so powerful. And so if you can just say thank you to somebody, it will absolutely change everything, right? You're focusing on the good things. You're focusing on the benefits, and you're focusing on the quality in everybody's life. And because of that, it totally changes all aspects of this relationship and of this connection because you're focusing on gratitude and saying thank you. Like literally, like just say thank you to people more. And if you just say thank you more throughout your day, and as you wake up, say thank you. As you go to bed, say thank you. Just say thank you for the world around you, the life around you, the air you're breathing. Just radically increase your quality of life and your happiness and your fulfillment. And I would really listen to that part again because that's really powerful. And that one concept, I mean, it's not like specifically this, but like that one concept changed everything for me, and it made me so much happier, so much more fulfilled. So I would really recommend you listen to that again, and you apply it because that is just so powerful. So go back, rewind, and listen to that because that's huge, right? Your life will change the moment that instead of thinking of things as negative or thinking of things that come across you as something that's bad, you just say thank you. You know, I'm so thankful that got to happen to me. And even if in the short term, maybe it was painful, maybe it hurt, I know in the long term it was great, and it's gonna turn me into a better person. It's gonna make me more successful, more powerful, and happier, more fulfilled. And just say thank you. It's just so nice. I remember, I'll tell this story and we'll get back to it because I think it kind of applies, and it comes down back to this one concept of giving thanks. You know, I was going down there's like this cool, like, you know, the river, and the river goes down this big, you know, cascade of rocks, and so there's this big slide of rocks. And you slide down all the rocks on the river, and it's like super fun. They call it, you know, and then there's like a big pond, a big, you know, river at the bottom, and you can slide down these rocks in the river, and it's like super fun, right? You slide down the rocks. And so I'm like a little kid, and I'm doing this, and you know, I get to the bottom of this this sliding rock, and at the bottom, right, I see this little can, and this can, there's like a pipe at the bottom where I guess like some of the water flows, and there's like a little like aluminum can, and so I'm like, oh, it's an aluminum can, I better, you know, kick it out of the pipe so that it can get clean and, you know, save the environment, all that good stuff. And so I'm sliding down this rock, and as I'm coming down, I see this can, so I stick my foot where the can is, and as I stick my foot where the can is, my foot like gets lodged in the pipe. And so I'm going down this rock at like probably 10, 15, 20 miles an hour, like pretty freaking speedy, right? And my foot gets stuck in this pipe, and sort of like my entire body flips in front of this pipe. So my whole body goes this way, right? But my foot is stuck right here. And so like my foot stays back, and like my entire body twists around it. And basically like I do like a 360 on my ankle, and it was like straight up crazy, and super like it did not feel good at all. And so as my whole body like flops around my ankle, and it just like twists like my whole body around this pipe, you know, I start freaking out, right? Because I'm like, ow, this is really not good. So we spend like an hour trying to find a hospital because we're in like the middle of nowhere. I'm with my family, they're the best people ever, I love them. And we're trying to figure out like, where's a hospital, And we finally get to the hospital, and basically this guy just like bandages up my ankle, and he says, oh, not a big deal, not a big problem, you know what, don't sweat it, your ankle, not broken, not a big deal. And I was like, dude, are you serious? Like, this really hurts, like I can't walk. And he's like, nope, not a big deal, just put a bandage on it. And so, you know, we're on this big trip in the mountains, and so for the next 3 days, basically, you know, I'm walking around with like this like dead ankle foot, and it just like pains me to walk everywhere I go. I mean, it's just awful, dude. It was insane. And as we go through this process over the next couple of days, you know, we kept swimming and we kept doing these activities, but it was like really painful to walk. So I was sort of like just chilling out. I didn't get crutches or anything. I mean, I didn't get anything, man. I was just walking on this like ankle, and it really hurt. And so on the way home, we're in the car on the way home, and it's been a couple of days at this point, and basically like I kept telling people like my foot like really hurts, but no one really cared. So you know, we get in the car, and we're just driving home, and it's like a couple of hour drive, probably 8 hours maybe, I don't know. And we're like probably an hour away from our home, and we get a call from this this hospital that was in, you know, faraway land in the mountains, right? And they give us a call and they say, hey, you know, we looked over your x-rays again, and we're pretty sure your ankle's broken, and we just didn't catch it the first time. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? What? On a broken ankle for like 3 days, and it felt like you were walking on a broken ankle, like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, ah. And then my parents were like, well, you know, we basically left, and so we had to go home. We had to go to this hospital at our home, and then we had to go to this new surgeon and get, or you know, whatever, right, urgent care or something like that, maybe the hospital. And basically they said, yeah, you know what, broken ankle, here's a cast, and I had a cast for like a couple of months, and I got crutches and all that good stuff. Now anyone could look at the situation, anybody could say, you know, wow, you know, that's a crap situation, you know, you deserve to be angry at those people. But like, anger won't get you anywhere, right? The only way that you'll ever have that success, ever have that achievement, ever have that fulfillment is to have thanks and gratitude. And so looking back, you know, at the time I probably, I didn't understand any of this stuff at the time. I was like 8 or something, I don't remember. And so like, I just didn't really think much of it. But now when I look back at this, I'm so thankful, because it showed me, first of all, like, to challenge authority when stuff doesn't seem right, and when maybe I know that, like, hey, you know, something's up here, and something's different, and something's wrong. So often people, they'll just stick to the status quo. Because so often, like, people see something that they think is wrong, and they know in their heart is wrong, but they'll stick to the status quo because they're stuck focusing on authority. And so, like, the first, like, huge thing that showed me was, like, you know, if something's wrong, like, you need to challenge the traditional way of thinking and challenge that authority and say, hey, you know, let's step back for a minute and actually look at what's going on here. And that's like so huge and so powerful. And the second thing this showed me was that, like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? This idea that, like, yeah, this hurt a whole lot, but in the long term, like, my ankle's gonna be much stronger because of this, right? Like, I'm gonna get, like, super strong ankles because I messed it up super bad, and now it's gonna grow back, it's gonna be stronger, and I'm gonna be able to do really hefty single leg squats on my, my left ankle, right? On my left leg. And it all comes from this idea of, like, having this positive outlook and saying thank you, right? Thank you for letting me do this. Thank you for letting me have this experience, because now my threshold for pain is gonna be so much higher in life, and I'll be better able to adapt and go through future situations just like this in a state of happiness, in a state of total and complete sincerity and quality of life. Because I know it's so much more important now to actually have this connection, to have this super powerful ability to sort of just ignore pain, because so often, like, you're gonna have to go through tough situations where you are not feeling great. Great example, I fell down the other day, not the greatest thing ever, and there's like this huge scrape on my knee. Yet I'm still here going hard. It hurts like heck, but I don't care. Feels like, you know, my ankle, my knee is like exploding, but I don't care. I'm still training interval repeats. I still have a race, you know, coming up in a week. Like, I'm going hardcore. Why? You gotta push past the pain. It's just a temporary indeterminate, and you just gotta keep going hard, and you're gonna have the success, have that fulfillment, have that creation of your ideal future that you actually desire, which is you. So really cool stuff. You guys getting that? Is that awesome? You get it? Yeah?